Your Eminence Cardinal Peter Turkson, President of the Pontifical Council for Justice and Peace, Your Excellency Pontifical Nuncio Paul Chang In Nam, Archbishop Jamnien Santisuk Niran, Chairman of the Catholic Bishop Conference of Thailand, Kun Prajop, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Let me say that I find myself out with fish out of water, and I really feel nervous presenting myself in this very distinguished gathering this morning. But anyway, I shall try my best in this 15 minutes to perform my task as asked by Kun Prajop. I hope I don't waste too much of your time. Well, first I would like to welcome all the Asian delegates to Thailand, and in particular to this important conference. On behalf of the Thai Institute of Directors, or in brief IOD, I would like to congratulate the participating religious organization for initiating this forum to forge a discussion on good business practices and social responsibility. The two topics are keys to sustaining global and regional prosperity. I don't have to stress too much about the importance of this good governance for each and every organization, business, public entities, religious organization, and not-for-profit foundation and social ventures. Good governance leads to greater accountability and transparency, the two vital elements that create an environment conducive to sustainable growth. I have been introduced as the chairman of the Institute of Directors. Some of you might have not known about what we do here, so allow me to briefly explain what the IOD is, what we have been doing, and what role we are playing in Thailand since our establishment in the year 1999. Well, the IOD is dedicated to enhance director professionalism and corporate governance. As an institute of directors, our activities interact mainly with company directors and work closely with other parties such as business, member organizations, regulators, and the government. We provide professional training for director development with an aim of training, of raising the standards of directorship in Thailand to international level. We also develop best practice guidelines to help company directors fulfilling their fiduciary duties. To ensure a wider practice of good corporate governance, our director training goes beyond the listed company. The IOD has specialized training courses that target a broad segment of the Thai businesses, including the SMEs and family-owned businesses, which are the core of Thailand's business community. Following our 16 years of operation, the IOD has trained over 20,000 directors. Our flagship training course, the Director Certification Program, or DCP, now has more than 5,700 directors attended, with classes in Thai and in English. There are top executives of private companies as well as state enterprises and regulators. Recently, we have extended our DCP program specifically to businesses and regulator in the regional economies, particularly those in the CRMB group, namely Cambodia, Myanmar, Laos, and Vietnam. These classes have turned out to be very successful, pointing to a strong interest in corporate governance in the region. Your Eminence, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, besides training, IOD has conducted research on corporate governance and directors issues. One of our most recognized efforts is the tracking of corporate governance performance of Thai listed company to IOD's own corporate governance report. We have done this since 2001. The results from these assessments show that there has been a steady progress on corporate governance by Thai companies. And notwithstanding a more demanding criteria of the ASEAN corporate governance scorecard standards established in 2013 for the ASEAN market, the solid CGR scores of Thai listed company again reassure that our listed company have put on serious efforts in ensuring a high standard of corporate governance. Next to research, the Institute also represents voice of directors in its advocacy role by putting across opinion of member directors and present them as policy, feedback, and recommendation. At this time when Thailand is undergoing major reform in all aspects, it is very important that the concerns of business directors are appropriately voiced and heard by the policy maker. Well, to put corporate governance into practice, the IOD is taking a leading role in steering Thailand's private sector collective action coalition against corruption, known as the CAC. This is an initiative by 8 leading business organizations to tackle the supply side of corruption by leveraging. Institute also represents voice of directors in its advocacy role by putting across opinion of member directors and present them as policy, feedback, and recommendation. At this time when Thailand is undergoing major reform in all aspects, it is very important that the concerns of business directors are appropriately voiced and heard by the policy maker. Well, to put corporate governance into practice, the IOD is taking a leading role in steering Thailand's private sector collective action coalition against corruption, known as the CAC. This is an initiative by 8 leading business organizations to tackle the supply side of corruption by leveraging on the power and spirit of collective action. To date, some 449 companies have voluntarily joined the CAC and explicitly declared the intention to fight against all forms of corruption. So far, out of the 449 companies that joined, 96 have been certified by the CAC for having put in place policy and high compliance standards to prevent corruption as per criteria set by the CAC. Well, with the number of companies joining and being certified by the CAC increasing, we are starting to see another important momentum. Some certified companies are extending their network of clean business through their own supply chain by inviting their trading network, trading partner to join the CAC. This has further enlarged the momentum of private business in fighting corruption. It is worth noting that as far as we know, the CAC is the only anti-corruption initiative in Asia to have established a certification process. Many of our regional peers are looking to us and hope to do something similar. Your Eminence, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the world of business has evolved substantially over the past few decades. Through this long experience, it has become very clear that maximizing corporate profit without regard to the social cost of attaining it is not an acceptable path to success. Reflecting this, business integrity and CSR are no longer choices, but could be implemented at convenience. Instead, they are the key elements of sustainable growth that must be practiced by all companies, regardless of size and types. I'm delighted that all of us from various countries are gathering today to discuss issues that truly matters. The topics to be taken up by the distinguished speakers are extremely relevant, thought-provoking, and I think they form great opportunity for learning. They are well chosen, timely, and I think they could be applied to the real world. Before closing, let me leave you with two observations. The first observation I took from Professor Stephen Young, an American scholar and a friend of Thailand, who gave a lecture to the IOD on governance and ethics. It's about a year ago. And this is what he said. I still remember vividly. He said, good governance principle and fiduciary duties are more than the rules of law that can be evaded with governance and collusion. They demand personal character and self-control and good judgment. Their capacity of individuals and cannot be created through regulation, instruction, and compliance program. Fiduciary duties, governance, stand at the crossroad of law and ethics. They are shaped by the law, but only come alive through ethical commitment. Second, to me, CSR is not about welfare. It's not about handout. It's not PR work or advertisement in disguise. They are all sweeteners. To me, CSR is about a benevolent role to show business people's accountability, responsibility, and concern for the people and the community and their environment. It is a tool to strengthen the people. It is a tool to help them to help themselves. Thank you very much. God bless you.